So let's get into this. So this is the reason why uh, Donald G. I don't know. I always say his name wrong. Fuck. This is the reason why Donald G. Whatever. However you say his name. This is the reason why he's continuously blocked and banned rather on all his accounts. It's this. It's this. Um, the New York Times ran a story. It's by this individual. She wrote a story. I guess she specializes in internet culture. I don't know what the hell that means. And this is what hits. So yeah. Um, so it says fan armies are harassing gay and trans people on TikTok. Are online creators responsible for the bigotry and cruelty of their audiences or their platforms? I say no. Of course, that's a slippery slope of saying that an individual is responsible for all the negative attention that another individual gets, because I think people are misassigning his words. This is James Charles, by the way. So as you guys know, I have a little bit of a little crush. Just kidding, he's too young. All right, so let's read this out here and let's go through this. Chris smiles widely as a video of Miso Chan, a transgender creator. I thought this was James Charles. Whatever. Oh, it is. A transgender creator presenting as a young woman with pink hair plays next to him. A song with the lyrics, "Now I know it's real and what is fake," loops in the background. Then Miso Chan rips off her wig, pulls tissues out of their shirt, and reveals to present as a male. Chris's face drops to a wide-eyed, deadpan expression. I wonder if we could find that video. So this video has viewed over 1.7 million times, and its comment section is filled with cruel remarks. This is why I have trust issues nowadays. One person replied, "Imagine what his parents thought," said another. Well, those are certainly rude. The second one, of course, you know. But again, like, honestly, like, I've been talking about it a lot. Like, how much is he responsible? The shock and, like, the shock of somebody, presenting from male to female. It's shocking. And it's like, oh, it's weird. Honestly. I know people want to, like, assign, like, this huge value of homophobia on it. But, like, honestly, it's realistically, I just think that it's just the shock and, like, bizarreness of it. It's like, oh, that's it. I really do. And I think that people saying it's homophobic, I think it's a reach. And I don't like the fact that not a single person during this whole narrative, not a single person said, hey, listen, maybe you don't think it's homophobic, but it's ignorant, and your fans are weaponizing this. Can you at least speak out against them? Nobody said that. Everybody's equating this to, like, literal homophobia. And nobody's contextualizing it. And the biggest problem with that is now when you black and white the scenario, when you make the scenario very black and white, what you're effectively doing is you're saying that all homophobia is on equal terms. And in this case, the homophobia of a shock that somebody has transitioned is being equated to homophobia that threatens the life of an LGBT individual. And I really just don't like... there's just the context is really just not there. Honestly. So, Chris, who is 17 years old, uses the name Donald G. I really never say it right. Online, has grown an enormous audience on TikTok. Before his account was banned on Tuesday, he had amassed more than 2.5 million followers. Another one of his accounts had more than 2.2 million followers, but on Friday afternoon, both of Chris's backup accounts were banned as well. This account was banned due to multiple community guideline violations. Read a banner at the top. Now, just for context, no, they did read that, but there were no violations. There were no violations. Nobody said a word to him. Now, I don't know if his alternative account did it, but, like, I would assume that on his secondary account, he stopped doing the reactions to LGBT people. I could be wrong. I don't know. So, yeah, it's stressful, he said by the phone. That's how I got my money. Now, listen. Tough take, and I think this is the biggest issue with cancel culture, is now we're banning all of his accounts that exist, right? How do you expect this young man to learn from it? Because I'm guaranteeing you, nobody's happy with the ban. But if he had gotten banned, and then his backup was allowed to stay, I think that this would have been better received. Of like, oh, I'm happy you learned your lesson. Again, I disagree with the lesson, but at least there's not like a complete, like, there's mercy there. There's room for education on what you feel, right? Because then it would be like, oh, okay, because then maybe people would be more receptive to the message that it was homophobic. But I don't think that they are, because Chris's 4 accounts are gone now. They just constantly keep chaining them off. And there's no room for education for anybody. Because let's say even I'm wrong. Why would I care? Why would I care if I'm wrong when you constantly beat the shit out of this young kid and you remove his career option of being on TikTok? I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Again, people would be more receptive if it wasn't like an all or nothing. But there's no room there. There's no room for any level of education. There's no room for any conversation. Nobody is really interested in having that conversation. People just keep mass reporting and spam reporting his pages, and now he's being taken off the app. Honestly. And by the way, just for context, I'm pretty sure Chris just got verified, and that's when people started to care. Nobody gave a shit until he got verified. Nobody cared about what he was doing or saying until he got verified. So one could argue that people are just upset and jealous that he got verified, and now they care where they didn't before. That's honestly what I think. I'm just saying, man. It's very suspicious. Chris's account is known in the TikTok community as a reaction account, an account where someone creates reaction videos that appear alongside other TikToks. Reaction and commentary TikToks channels are a growing niche on the platform and have been taking off in recent months. Okay, that's fair. Nearly all of Chris's videos follow the same format. A video loops to the right, he smiles, sometimes he gives a thumbs up, then something happens to the video and he drops a smile. The majority of Chris's videos are reactions to, I don't exactly know what an anodite moment is. Let's look that up. Not likely to provoke dissent or offense. So, rather innocuous, benign moments. In one, he drops a smile when a man slams a brick of tofu in his own face, and the other one when a cockroach appears. Some of his videos, however, feature reactions to LGBT creators. He has a shocked expression when men put on skirts, when a man sucks on a straw, or when trans people reveal transformations over time. Now, for those of you championing this article, yeah, so for those of you who champion this whole thing of Chris getting taken down, people were like, oh, it's not a shocked face, Papa, it's disgust. Well, this person clearly just said that their take on it is said shock as well. So that just reinforces what I was saying. It's a face of shock, not of disgust. And it is shocking when a man puts on a dress. Who cares? Like, it's shocking. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just different. And people are like, oh, that's weird. That's it. Honestly, you guys put a lot of value into it, but it really is just bizarre. All right. Let's see. I guess we're playing this.
Tastes like Apple Jacks. I'm looking gorgeous, licking sacks. Who made you hoes go back to crack? Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Here's $20.
That's shocking.
To crack. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Here's $20.
Listen, it's shocking. It's bizarre. Does that them? It's a nice glow up. I feel like that's too short for that. I don't know. Not good on them. Still, shocking, funny. It's just like, oh, a little weird, right? It's a little bizarre. So that's it. Again, maybe I'm being ignorant, but does ignorance without ill intent deserve to be completely canceled? And again, we're not leaving any room for education for this young man. Basically, his TikToker Donald G makes videos like these where he goes from this to this, and people got mad at him, rightfully so, and his fans started tagging people, etc. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, the thing is, it's outliers, man. He's got 2.5 million fans. Let's say that like 1,000, or let's say 1,000 people go and comment something kind of negative on their profile. You know, what is that like? I don't know. I think I did the math. It was like 0.0004% of his followers. So if it's 10,000, it's 0.004% of his followers. It's outliers. It's a small minority of people who are doing rude things. And again, Chris says don't do this, and they don't listen. And he's not as aggressive as I am against toxic followers. But then also my content actually has depth to it, and so it's very much easier. So rather, I find it more necessary to be more aggressive against my toxic followers, right? But it's a joke. And honestly, from my perspective, you know, everybody takes the joke. A lot of people take jokes, and like, you know, when you say, hey, listen, because I have a particular identity trait, you can't make a joke against me. I argue that is you asking not to be part of society in the same way. Honestly, I just to me, joking about things and people and making lighthearted jokes is galvanizing for people. And when people kind of turn away from that, that's, I don't know. I really, that's just my interpretation. That's how I grew up. My family messes with each other all the time. People make jokes. I mean, like, if people are truly disgusted by trans people, they'll either completely avoid them or make really hateful and hurtful jokes. And I really just don't read this guy as somebody who hates trans people. I think it's just something that's like a little shocking to him. And he's just like, oh, what's this? And like he makes a shocking face. That's my take on it. And maybe I'm old, maybe I'm dated, but like I feel like perpetuating this type of, I call it weakness, of melting down over a joke, it just doesn't prepare you for the real world, man. I just don't think so. Even though he never says a word, thousands of people have called them out for being homophobic. Young, gay, and trans TikTokers who have been featured in Chris's reactions report they have suffered vicious harassment from commentators and in messages. Some have deleted their accounts. You know, I can make the argument that some of the people who delete their accounts are people who just don't understand being online. People attack each other all the time. And again, like, I've been attacked for videos that I make as well. And I'm told to, you know, end my own life and yada, yada, yada. I just don't care. And again, maybe that's because I grew up in online culture when it was at its, like, peak of toxicity. Like, online video games 10 years ago. People always meme about Call of Duty lobbies, but, like, that's the time where I grew up in. Even earlier than that. And so, like, I don't take these benign messages. Like, I don't care. Like, oh, you're, you know, whatever they say, you're fat, you're, whatever, ugly, you should die. I don't care. It's unless it gets to a point that it gets to like literally threatening and doxing, and like maybe those parts of that are true, but I just feel like this is exaggeratory language that's meant to support the, you know, anti-Chris narrative, I guess we can call it. I'm just saying. And like people can say like, oh, you know, you're reaching Papa, but like cancel culture is at its peak right now. So even if I'm wrong, it's hard. I don't think that I am. But it's like truly hard to not attribute things like this to just pure cancel culture and hatred. And again, it's right after he gets verified, I believe, is when people start saying, oh, he needs to go. Why now? I've never heard a single negative thing about this guy until now. Excuse me. Chris said he had no ill intent with his videos and said before, excuse me, his account was banned that he would stop duetting members of the LGBT community. So my thing is so here's what we've just established, right? That even if I disagree and Chris disagrees with it being toxic, he's listened to the LGBT community and said he was going to stop. So why isn't that good enough? Why isn't it good enough that he's like, hey, you know what? I'm hearing what you're saying, and that matters to me, so I'm going to stop making that type of content. But why is that not enough? But it's not. It's we need to make sure that we cancel somebody that we don't like. Because education isn't good. And I hate to bring it up, but Gothic is another TikToker who's being completely destroyed by LGBT members because she accidentally said that something to the effect that some lesbians don't want to engage with a girl with a penis, and that forcing lesbian individuals to be with a girl with a penis is, you know, wrong, right? Now, again, for context, I'm fine with a girl with a pee-pee. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Genitalia really doesn't mean as much to me as a lot of other people. But still, like, the toxicity exists, and TikTok is a breeding ground for progressive toxicity. It really, 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 really is. I want people to know I'm not homophobic or transphobic, he said. The facial expressions I make in my videos are jokes. I myself didn't think of them as offensive, but I can see how many people would take it that way, and I don't want them to feel that way. Again, I tend to disagree, but what Chris is doing here is saying, hey, you know what? I didn't think of it that way, but since you're saying that, I'm going to stop making the content. And again, we had to ban him because the goal wasn't to educate him to make him do the right thing. The goal was to remove him from the app because we're upset with him. That's it, right? Because I made this point, and you guys can get as upset as you want about it, but the reality of the situation is this, and I'm going to bring it up a little bit later, but there is a level of the acceptance in young people for the LGBT community is on the decline. And I believe, truly, that one of those reasons is this. The toxicity. It's not just, hey, we need to educate people. It's, hey, we need to ruin people's careers. Because he was said, I'm going to stop. And they still wanted him gone. And they got it. They got him gone. So education wasn't the main thing there, man. Because if it was, he would still be on the app and he just wouldn't be making this content anymore. Which is what he said. And I see no reason to not take him on good faith. But nobody cares. They like the toxicity. And every group loves toxicity. That's the problem. But in this case, it happens to be toxic progressivism. It happens to be some individuals in the LGBT community that are riled up by this, and they rile everybody up, and now they want him done. They want him gone. They don't believe in second chances. And like, this isn't real transphobia and homophobia. And I think this is the perfect time. I wanted to bring this up, really quick. Let me grab this video that I have right here.
Yeah, the woke police never, ever, ever...
So I'm going to show you guys this video. This is a Vosh video, and I don't think he's speaking about this, and maybe he would disagree with me using it in this way, but I believe the fundamentals of what he's saying apply here. And I'm going to have you guys listen to what he has to say. This is a very general thing, and I think that this applies very well to the situation, right? So let's listen to this.
Yeah, the woke police never, ever, 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 ever go for conservatives. And that's the thing, and that's the argument, that's the criticism that I initially levied. You get more social capital by attacking people who are closer to wokeness than you. It doesn't demonstrate you're very woke if you're criticizing somebody who believes black people are subhuman. Any reasonable person should be able to believe that black people aren't subhuman. No, you get the most woke points by attacking people who are as close to you as possible, because by enunciating the very, very tiny differences between your perspectives and their perspectives and blowing it up to massive proportions, you're able to distinguish yourself from other people and thus put yourself on a pedestal when it comes to that behavior. I used to do this myself. I have since stopped doing this myself. I don't think it's a very good way of promoting progressive issues. I don't think it's a very good way of making the world a better place. I don't think it makes life better for black people. I don't think it makes life better for queer people. I don't think it makes life better for anyone, except for the person who's doing the canceling. Yeah, the woke police never...
Yeah. So, effectively what he's saying here is that when it comes to let's say in this scenario, there's nothing to be gained from telling people who are clearly homophobic that they're wrong and that they should be canceled, because everybody already agrees, right? Donald G already agrees. What they would rather do is go after people who are very close in perspective and say, because you're doing this one small thing that has a different perspective than mine, you deserve to be completely canceled. And that because of that, because of the nuances, people think that they're clever. Like, oh my God, I never saw it like that. I never thought that just faces were really homophobic. It's right on the money, man. And again, maybe Vosh doesn't agree with the way I'm applying this logic here, but like, I honestly think that this is perfectly applied, and he put it up today. So while I don't think he even knows about the situation, it just speaks to me, guys. It's just so convenient, that he would put it up this time. And like, honestly, I really think that this is what this is. And again, we've established they're not trying to there's no education that they're trying to put onto Chris, because he said the facial expressions I make on my videos are jokes. I myself didn't think of them as offensive, but I can see why they would take away. I don't want to feel it that way. Whatever. He says, right here, he says he would stop duetting members of the LGBT community. Before he was banned, he said that. Before he was banned, before any of his accounts were banned, he's like, hey, I'm going to stop because I'm listening. At a moment where he had 2.5 million people following him and he was verified, which one would say, like, you're effectively invincible, he still had the sense of self to say, you know what? I'm going to stop. So everything, there's no education here. Nobody cares. Pieces of shit, honestly. Trying to cancel someone to feel visceral. And then here's a little joke. If racism and homophobia doesn't stop in my comments, I might have to intervene, right? It's one of those I'm going to have to intervene memes, but it's clearly jokingly yes. So, here's where we get to the fun stuff. Rob Anderson, the 32-year-old TikToker creator who is a gay man, ended up in the crosshairs after calling attention to Chris's videos in a video of his own. Immediately after posting, Mr. Anderson was these words are too big for Papa God. Let's look what this word means. I like to educate myself. Overwhelmed. He could have just used that word. Whatever. Overwhelmed with a stream of gay slurs, death threats, and threats to his family. It's a vicious, intense, relentless form of harassment, and it's endless, says Mr. Anderson. These people go through all of your social channels, find any information about you. They say gay slurs to my agent. It doesn't stop. It doesn't go away one day and leave. Here's the problem with what I have here. I'm going to be very expressive. Okay? No one deserves to be criticized for their identity in this way that he is. No, I've said it every time I talk about this situation. But what this seems like is that he just innocently said, hey, there's an issue here. I'd like to call attention to it. It's not what happened. I don't have the full video. Again, I've beaten the crap out of myself for not saving it. But we do have enough of the video. So to show, so basically, after he said this horrible, he was really aggressive and rude on his live. After he said these things, Donald G took the video and
right? Listen, you fucking twig. I know you're pissed off because gay people are calling you out and you have no talent, but
Oopsie daisy.
right. So that's him outing Robert. Now you can see that the tone is very, very rude from Robert, and it goes on. It goes on to talk about how like he's he's rude, whatever. It's very demeaning. It's very rude, and that's what got people upset because he said something very rude, and Donald G, he put him up. Not gonna expose it at the end. It's just us talking nicely, and he just put it up and said, "Hey, here's what you said. That's not very nice." And I was inside of the live when I heard it. I knew I should have recorded it, but like what he said, Rob said was rude, man. It wasn't just innocently saying, "Here's a thing." Here's this issue I'm having. It was being really mean and like honestly aggressive, and people saw it and they didn't like it, and his fans attacked him. Now I'm assuming most of it was like, hey, you're an asshole, but some of it was homophobic, and that's always wrong. But he still deserves some backlash because he's a bad person for doing that, and he's a bad person for not including that in the article. He didn't say, hey, I was a little bit inflammatory when it came to this situation, and then I see backlash. He's like, no, I'm the good guy and I got attacked for being a good guy. No, man, you're a dick, Robert. You're an asshole, man. You really are. You're an asshole. You're 32 years old and you still can't take accountability for your actions. Come on, dude. Like he's at the very least, like not for nothing, but Chris is 17. Already said before he was getting any type of punishment that he would just stop doing the things that people are upset about, and he still gets punished. But you can act like a total dick, and it's totally fine. You get to go and be featured in an article that says that you're a really nice guy. Despite the fact that you are not a nice guy. You're a bad person, dude. Again, the doxing isn't okay and all that, but like you deserve some backlash that's like, hey, you're a bad guy. And I've said that multiple times. Never the slurs, but you are a bad guy. Any creator who speaks out against Chris's content inevitably receives a wave of threats and harassment. After Toby Phillips 20 posted a soft-spoken 90s PSA video against Chris to take the responsibility for his fans' behavior, he suffered too. That's not what happened. He didn't make a nice little take on like a ooh. He was being a condescending prick, Toby. And now, of course, he's but like this article has to frame everything that fits their narrative in the positive light. So everybody who did the wrong thing, but was on the side that they agree with, they're good. They're good. They're okay. Everything they did was fine. But like everybody else can, die. Honestly. Everybody else is an asshole, right? I'm just gonna ban you for saying that, even though it never came out. Let's see. Mr. Phillips went death threats and doxing attempts. Yeah, he mentioned that at the end there. As controversy began trending on Thursday, popular creators began to weigh in, including the children of several politicians and celebrities. But why wasn't Papa Gut featured? That's my question. Where I was probably the loudest voice when it came to this situation. There's no way you didn't really see what I was saying, and you didn't interview me. Why is that? I don't know who Cisco Hernandez is. A 15-year-old high school student in San Diego was dismayed to see the big creators he followed were expressing support for homophobic content. Dude, that way you worded it's pathetic. I could see why you didn't reach out to me, because it wouldn't have gone the way you wanted it to. There's really no way to warp my views and thoughts, and frankly, I'm just gonna, if you lied about what I said, I'm gonna blow you the fuck up. So I understand why you didn't come to me, but it's clear. Like, again, like, there's no way that you guys didn't see me weighing in on this, because I've been very loud about it, and I've been rather popular for what's going on. You know, I've had, like, popular videos, so there's just no way. Or maybe I'm just being a dick. Anyway, I posted a video about his disappointment, yada, yada, yada. Excuse me. Mr. Hernandez is not a full-time TikTok creator. He has a very small following and was shocked by the... So why the hell are you talking about him? People DM me telling me to kill myself, a lot of other things, including homophobic slurs. He said, I don't know exactly who that is. That's always terrible. Again, from the start, I've been talking about calling out the people who are doing the wrong thing, rather than somebody who's been doing a very benign thing that people are intentionally taking his message out of context to promote hatred, because all you're doing is you're putting accountability on actual homophobes onto a non-homophobic 17-year-old. Other large TikTok creators began issuing threats to the LGBTQ... Jesus, freaks in this article. LGBTQ creators for speaking out. In an Instagram Live 30 night, Freak the Gemini, a 21-year-old TikToker with more than 750,000 followers, issued a threat to 17-year-old, calling him a slew of homophobic slurs. I'm saying slurs. Yeah, I said a slur. He said on his live stream, adding to the young man could expect to have blood leaking out of his head if he encountered him in person. Here's the thing, and I talked to Freak about this privately. Like, he's not defending his actions in any capacity. He knows what he did was wrong. I have, too. I know a lot of you guys wanted me to make a video on it. There wasn't much for me to say. Frankly, I was very wrapped up in this Chris situation. And I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't make this my priority, because I was very upset about the Chris situation. It had me gassed up, and it had Freak gassed up. And he said things he certainly shouldn't have said. But I was gassed up, and I didn't care. I do care, but, like, in the time I didn't, because I'm frustrated with what's going on. And, like, that's a fault of mine. I should have spoke on it sooner. But like I said, like, we're all human, and I'm very frustrated by the situation that Chris got banned, because I honestly see it as, like, an attack on freedom of speech, and I see it as an attack on logic, reality, and I honestly see it as this idea of just weaponizing your feelings to take anybody out that you want to take out. And it wasn't somebody who was even borderline transphobic or homophobic. It was just some kid making faces. You know? So yeah, I apologize for that. I should have spoke out against it sooner. I should have. But again, you know, there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of heat, and I know Freak because I talked to him, and he's not happy about what he said in any capacity. And, like, I know people call me out, and again, I deserve to be called out for not speaking on it, but again, Freak actually apologized. He apologized live. And so, like, nobody's apologizing for incorrectly getting Chris banned, and, like, yet we're expected to be the bigger person, you know? It's hard to, and we are expected to be the bigger person, and we should be, but it's hard to do it when you're frustrated as well. Chris's fans say that critiques of his content are overblown. This has to be the worst display of cancel culture that I've ever seen. A YouTube drama commentator known as Reflex said in his video. Is the video here? He's getting canceled for the facial expressions he's making in his videos. How are you getting offended by someone who doesn't even talk? And then we saw this Keemstar reaction. What I find so bizarre.
TikTok were calling that he should get canceled because he was reacting to a video where there was a transgender person.
We saw a story. You guys can check it out. I agree with Keemstar in this video.
Situation I've been watching unfold on TikTok over the last few days now, and this has to be just the worst display of cancel culture I've ever seen. This stuff is insane.
It's what's insane. Nothing against this creator, but he has 3,000 subscribers. Keemstar, of course, is a big person. I know why they grabbed him. But there's no way that I wasn't involved in this. There's no way I wasn't mentioned, and I guarantee you that they intentionally stayed away from me for the. Because you gotta. I'm just saying, man. It's just very convenient that I'm a verified user with 1.2 million followers, and they kept me out of it completely. They got Freak in there. They got Keemstar, which makes sense. Keemstar's much bigger than any of us. But then they got some guy with 3,000 followers. It's like, dude, come on. I'm just saying. Let's see. Many flooded the comments sections of LGBT creators with the snowflake emoji. That's not really harassment. Like, if you're getting upset because you're getting called like a snowflake, I mean, come on, toughen up a little bit. Chris said that he had been on the receiving end of harassment himself as anger about his content built up on the app. I get called the N-word monkey in my DMs, people saying they're going to kill me whenever they see me. He said many TikTokers have encouraged their fans to flood Chris's comments with abusive messages. Others have attacked family members of his family, and tried to get him thrown out of the school. The wording doesn't seem to suggest much sympathy for Chris. But I will say that they had a lot of sympathy for Toby, who was somebody who, and I don't know if that's the situation, but did call for, in the past, people to get harassed. And there's no mention of the LGBT people who were trying to get him canceled, talking about how they wanted the people to go after them. There's also nobody asking for them to be held accountable. Why isn't Heartthrobbert being held accountable for having his fans say the N-word? Even if he didn't explicitly say go after him, he's responsible, right? Because that's his logic towards Chris. I'm just saying, your fans do it too, and you don't give a shit. He also said he was frustrated with his fans' behavior. It's just very true. Again, he said before any threat of banning or any ban that he was going to stop making the content. He also said he was frustrated with his fans' behavior. He said that he's spoken out several times on his TikTok account, asking people to stop making homophobic comments. But that ultimately can't control the millions of people who follow him, and that they interpret his pleas to spread positivity as covert directive to attack. Right, so we just gotta get rid of Chris, clearly. It's ridiculous. A percentage of my followers are trolls, and I feel that they do this because they like getting adrenaline on the internet, he said. I'll just keep trying to get my fans to change their ways. I'm trying my best to get my fans to stop doing what they're doing. And to that point, that's much more effective for somebody that trolls respect to talk about how they need to change their ways than it is for some toxic LGBT person to say that you're all homophobic and transphobic. Because again, like the authority is Heartthrobbert, whatever. It's not going to be the moral authority for a young stupid kid. I'm just saying, like, again, the toxicity from my followers has gone down dramatically as I've spoken out against them over and over again. I have accounts dedicated to saying stop spreading hate. I'm just saying, you know? It works. Your only argument is Chris should have done more. Maybe. You know? Many members of the LGBT community respond that whether Chris intended it or not, he built an audience of homophobic followers by posting homophobic content, and it's now his responsibility to manage the audience. Again, you guys constantly call everything homophobic. At best, it's maybe insensitive. And the reason that it's insensitive or ignorant, and that's your best argument, is because when you call everything homophobic, everybody equates homophobia to the same level. So now you're equating making a face at an LGBT person as an actual threat to somebody's life in a homophobic sense. It doesn't do very good. It doesn't send a good message to do that, because it equates more benign ignorance, if that's what you want to call it, to like literal harm being called. And so what's going to happen is people in the LGBT community are going to take it to the nth degree. It's as far as possible to say like, yes, this is true. And then people are going to be like, no, that makes no sense. So you know what? It's not homophobic at all. And maybe I lie on that side. Maybe it is ignorant, but nobody's putting it out there in a positive contextual way. And like the only person on the app that tries to do that is me. And like and again, I'm human. Maybe I should have done that, but I just didn't see it that way. So like, there should be more me's that are more progressive that are doing this, but nobody did it. Nobody's doing it. You know, I'm just saying, nobody's presenting it the right way. If somebody did that, if that's the first thing that I saw, the first criticism I saw was somebody saying, "Listen, I don't think it's transphobic or whatever, but can you please," or saying, "Excuse me, I think that it's insensitive. I think it's ignorant and it's borderline homophobic and transphobic. If you could please stop." Making videos with LGBT people because it's causing unwanted harm, we would really appreciate that. I think that it would have ended there, but it didn't happen. What we got was the first video was like, this guy's homophobic, this guy's transphobic, and we just steamrolled from there. There's no emphasis on education. It's the emphasis on just reacting purely based on feelings right off the bat. And that, again, I'm going to reinforce that is it's exemplified by the fact that he said he would stop before any ban. And nobody cares because they want him off the app and they're happy that it happened. Let's see. Also, most of his content wasn't LGBT reactions, so this idea that he occurred all his fucking his audience off of that is an asinine. They say Chris is not responsible for his followers, said Mr. Anderson. To that I say, of course he is. He's cultivated this group of people with this content. Again, you were very mean and rude and divisive, and then your followers called him the N-word. So like, this guy should be canceled, right? By his own logic, he should be canceled because his followers called Chris the N-word in the same way that Chris's followers called him the F-slur. The only difference is that Chris didn't actively call for it, and while neither did Rob, he was much more demonizing and divisive and rude about his message. So, on a scale of who said that they should hatred should be perpetuated, Rob is much higher because he was actually perpetuating hatred, even if it wasn't specific bigoted hatred, right? Just saying. That's your logic, not mine. I don't think any of you should be canceled, but by your own logic, you should be canceled. The people who follow him are the people who enjoy the content he's putting out, and his content is clearly anti-gay and homophobic. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not anti-gay at all. Even these ones aren't anti-gay or homophobic. They simply are jokes. But most of his content isn't this, and you're trying to make it seem like that's all of his content. If you have a large following, it's your responsibility to make sure people aren't getting hurt by what you post. Impossible. I mean, there's so many people. How are you going to be responsible for that many people? Again, that's like saying Bernie Sanders is responsible for Antifa. He's not. You know what I'm saying? There's only so much you can do. It's just silly. And this experience, and again, I hate how he's getting such a positive platform. He's seeming like such a respectable guy, but like Heartthrob is not a nice guy. He's rude. He's a rude guy. He doesn't have the ability to think critically. And he should be the authority in this situation, but he's a 32-year-old man with a grudge and a chip on his shoulder that doesn't care about educating people. He just loves perpetuating hatred and violence. In this experience, many young creators also are realizing how inadequate TikTok can be about protecting users from harassment. Hateful videos snowball quickly as they gain traction on the app's all-too-powerful For You page. What? There's no certain mechanism. So why is it powerful when it comes to hateful messages, but it's not powerful when it comes to dancing videos? There's no mechanism to mass report or mass block a user's entire following. Comment controls are limited and glitchy. The reporting process can be slow. Often harassment campaigns are instigated with a wink and a nod. Not for nothing, but the only reason people get popular on TikTok is because of the For You page. The For You page is designed to push people out of their comfort zones. It's specifically designed. The For You page is specifically designed so that people are removed from their comfort zones. If you want to sit in a comfort zone, stay on Instagram. But TikTok is a place where you can promote yourself because you make a video, and if people like it, it gets pushed around. That's the reality of the situation. And it's just, and now we're gonna demonize it. And mass blocking a whole entire group of people is ridiculous. You're basically saying, I don't want to hear what anybody else has to say on the matter. But there should be something that bans the users who are homophobic. Why isn't that talked about? Why isn't that the mechanism we're promoting? Honestly. Alright. We are committed to promoting a safe and positive app environment for our users. Our community guidelines outline behavior that is not acceptable on the platform, and we take action against behavior that violates those policies, including by removing content or accounts. We also offer a number of features to help users control their online experience, including options to report inappropriate content, limit and filter comments, and block users. A spokesperson of TikTok said, of course, that's the safest thing that they could ever say, but the reality is nobody cared until they got verified. This is from Rob. I'm 32. I'm not on this app to have drama with teenagers. If you're not on the app to have drama, then why are you being so rude about the situation and being so toxic? Mr. Anderson, I'm confident about who I am. That's great. Who cares? But there are queer people who are 15 or 16 exploring their gender. They are just trying to explore who they are. Fine. Fair point. Again, why did you get him blocked then, especially if he said he was going to stop? If your argument that the 15 and 16-year-olds are fundamentally unable to control their feelings and understanding of the world purely, then why aren't you extending that thing to Chris as well? Because again, if you had came out of this as like, hey, listen, you don't intend to do this, but you're creating a hostile atmosphere. Can you please stop? I think that this would have been much different. Even if I don't necessarily agree, I could wrap my head around that message and I could educate myself on it. But no, you wanted to block the good guy. Hold on a second.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.
Talking to who? Who is talking to what? I don't know. What are you talking about? Damn program is talking to her. She wants to talk to you. Come on, we want this to happen. The creators of this article. How do I get in on? They're talking to the creator of the article. Well, where? How do I talk to her? I don't understand. I don't. How would I talk to this person? What's going on, man?
Hey, what's it called? You want to talk to that Nicole girl?
Nicole?
That's the person that made the article.
Oh, Taylor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, sure. How would I do that?
I'll see if she wants to talk to you.
All right, let me go pee real quick. Are you? Sorry, guys. I'm on the thing with. Say hi to Chris.